Dear finance professionals and students, welcome to podcast of FCA Deepak Rao, a practicing chartered accountant. Weekly digest for week 4 of June 2026. Zepto's upcoming $1 billion IPO highlights the quick commerce sector's investment surge. Despite strong order volumes, Zepto's aggressive low price strategy has led to significant operating losses, though per order losses are narrowing. Investors will closely watch its ability to improve monetization and profitability while maintaining growth. India's AI startups are experiencing a hiring surge, outpacing the broader tech sector as companies transition from AI experiments to large-scale deployments. Driven by demand for generative AI and automation, recruitment is booming across engineering, product and customer-facing roles. This growth, however, highlights a significant talent shortage, pushing compensation for experienced AI professionals to new heights, with leadership roles commanding substantial packages. India's Big Four accounting firms have achieved remarkable growth, outperforming global peers in fiscal year 2026. PwC and Deloitte reported significant revenue increases, while KPMG and EY also saw substantial gains. Technology consulting is a major driver, contributing significantly to revenue across all firms. Despite reporting variations, all four have surpassed the $1 billion India revenue mark, signaling robust expansion and strategic investments in key service areas. The Reserve Bank of India has revamped the lead bank scheme to boost district-level credit planning and financial inclusion. New guidelines released on June 19th aim to enhance credit flow to priority sectors and improve access to financial services. A three-tier committee structure has been introduced to strengthen coordination between banks and government agencies, with lead banks now appointing dedicated managers to oversee scheme implementation across all districts. The Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, or IRDAI, proposed allowing insurers to invest up to 5% of shareholders' funds available beyond the solvency margin in private limited companies, in line with provisions introduced under the Sabka Bima Sabki Raksha or SBSR Act. Under the proposed norms, insurers may invest in private limited companies with a minimum net worth of Rs 25 crore and a reported net profit in at least 2 of the preceding 3 financial years. India's Global Capability Center or GCC landscape is shifting, with private equity-backed and mid-market firms now driving significant expansion. These companies are leveraging GCCs beyond cost savings to build advanced capabilities in AI and engineering, creating substantial value for their portfolios. This trend signifies a maturing strategy for PE firms, moving GCCs from experimental to standard value creation tools, with technology and financial services sectors leading the charge. Indian banks are seeking clarity from the RBI on allowing overseas branches to lend to non-residents for FCNRB deposits. Some lenders like SBI have already launched structured products enabling this, with deposits as collateral. Bankers hope for explicit regulatory comfort to boost NRI deposits before a special RBI window closes in September, potentially offering significant leveraged yields. Discretionary spending is witnessing a notable resurgence, particularly in the apparel and white goods sectors, which have both seen impressive double-digit sales growth this fiscal year, thanks in part to a sweltering summer. Nevertheless, businesses are exercising caution, citing worries about the impacts of an unpredictable monsoon and escalating inflation on future purchasing trends. SpaceX shares have seen a significant drop, losing hundreds of billions in value over 3 days. This decline follows the company's announcement of its first investment-grade bond sale, signaling a major borrowing effort to fuel its artificial intelligence initiatives. Despite the recent dip, The stock remains above its IPO price, with strong retail investor interest noted. Analysts suggest the company's future growth potential is already factored into its current valuation. Meta is betting on India for WhatsApp's next chapter, naming entrepreneur Kunal Shah to lead the messaging app and succeed Will Cathcart, who's stepping down after nearly 7 years at the helm to take on a new product building role at the company. The move comes alongside a Meta-led $900 million financing round for Indian fintech giant Cred, structured through a combination of primary and secondary share purchases. The deal will make Meta a minority investor in Cred. Meta's investment values Cred at about $4.5 billion on a post-money basis. The startup was last valued at about $3.6 billion in a funding round in May 2025, below its peak valuation of $6.4 billion in 2022. The Reserve Bank of India or RBI has directed authorized dealer or AD Category 1 banks to submit daily information relating to foreign currency non-resident bank or FCNRB deposits, external commercial borrowings or ECBs, and overseas foreign currency borrowings or OFCBs mobilized under the RBI's recently introduced swap facility. The reporting requirement has been introduced to facilitate monitoring of funds mobilized under the special forex swap arrangements. Indian entrepreneur Gagan Gupta, who founded electric vehicle company Spiro, has secured $55 million in additional backing from Chinese investor New Trails Capital to boost electric mobility and energy infrastructure in Africa. New Trails Capital is a growth stage investment fund focusing on emerging markets. Spiro is the largest EV company in Africa, operating in 7 countries. Spiro closed its latest round at $270 million. The Indian rupee may be heading into a period of relative stability, thanks to easing geopolitical tensions and a series of measures by the Reserve Bank of India and the government to attract foreign money into the country. But economists warn that the relief may only be temporary, with higher US interest rates and slowing global investment flows posing fresh risks in the coming years. In the near term, the currency is expected to remain stable and even strengthen modestly as India's external position improves. However, pressure could return in the second half of the fiscal year if the US Federal Reserve resumes raising interest rates. Foreign investors are aggressively selling Indian bank stocks, offloading over Rs 1,100 crore daily due to global economic pressures and portfolio shifts. This massive outflow, nearly half of all FII selling, is driven by rising US bond yields, a stronger dollar, and geopolitical risks. Despite this, domestic funds are increasing their holdings, creating a market tug-of-war with potential buying opportunities in quality private banks. India's IPO market is poised for a strong comeback in July, with over a dozen companies planning to raise approximately Rs 45,000 crore. Major offerings from SBI Funds Management, Manipal Health Enterprises, and Zepto are leading the charge. Favorable market conditions, robust domestic investor participation, and easing global uncertainties are fueling this resurgence, signaling a positive outlook for the primary market. Enforcement Directorate officials conducted searches at Rajesh Exports Bengaluru and Mumbai locations. This action follows scrutiny by market regulator SEBI over alleged financial irregularities, including inflated revenues attributed to overseas subsidiaries. SEBI has also restricted the company's CMD from trading its securities pending further investigation. The company has denied any wrongdoing, citing a potential communication gap. India's GST regime has achieved widespread acceptance, with digitization and rate adjustments hailed as major successes. Businesses now prioritize clearer interpretations, uniform audits, and faster refunds to ease working capital. The corporate sector is eager for AI-powered compliance tools and a unified taxpayer dashboard, signaling a push for more advanced, business-friendly reforms. Tata Motors is set to invest up to Rs 40,000 crore over 5 years, aiming to nearly double its passenger vehicle capacity and introduce new models. The company targets a 20% domestic market share by financial year 31, with electric and CNG vehicles driving significant growth. This ambitious plan includes expanding its EV lineup and enhancing battery technology to address adoption barriers, positioning Tata Motors for a multi-powertrain future. India's listed office REITs are poised for significant expansion, with leasable space projected to grow by 40 to 45 million square feet by 2027-28. This growth, fueled by new listings and acquisitions, coupled with strong rental income and stable occupancy, will bolster credit profiles. Despite reliance on debt for future acquisitions, leverage is expected to remain controlled, ensuring a robust sector. Banks raised more than Rs 1 trillion through Certificate of Deposits or CDs in the fortnight ended June 15th, the highest since the March 31st fortnight, when mobilization usually rises due to year-end funding requirements. The jump in CD issuance came as rates eased, with the maximum interest rate falling by about 20 basis points from the previous fortnight. Banks have increased their reliance on CDs at a time when the gap between credit and deposit growth has widened to more than 500 basis points. Oil prices are dropping significantly as tankers resume passage through the Strait of Hormuz, following a preliminary peace accord between the US, Israel, and Iran. This easing of supply concerns has pushed prices towards pre-war levels, surprising many analysts. Despite ongoing demining efforts, the flow of oil is expected to continue, with nations coordinating to ensure smooth departures and discuss the strait's future management. Bank of India aims to raise approximately $3.5 billion through foreign currency deposits and overseas borrowings, leveraging recent RBI measures. This strategic move, including $1 billion from FCNRB deposits and $1.5 billion via concessional swap facilities, is expected to reduce borrowing costs by 50 to 60 basis points. The Reserve Bank of India has firmly rejected requests for special exemptions from concentration norms for government-owned NBFCs, emphasizing a principles-based regulatory approach. The central bank also denied calls to raise single counterparty limits for public sector enterprises. While allowing grandfathering of residual breaches and specific conditions for temporary limit breaches, the RBI has tightened rules to ensure regulatory clarity and stability. Victims of digital payment fraud losing up to Rs 50,000 can now get up to Rs 25,000 compensation from banks effective January 1st, 2027. The RBI will fund 65% of this, with banks contributing the rest. Sole proprietors are now covered, and cross-border frauds are included. Reporting within 5 days to the cybercrime portal and bank is crucial for eligibility. The Income Tax Department has introduced an online challan correction request facility on the e-filing portal, allowing taxpayers to rectify common mistakes made while paying taxes without having to visit the income tax office. The new feature is expected to significantly reduce compliance hassles for taxpayers who accidentally select the wrong assessment year, tax year, major head or minor head while making tax payments. Previously, such errors often required lengthy correspondence with tax authorities or visits to the jurisdictional assessing officer. The online facility now offers a faster and more transparent correction mechanism for eligible challans. The Reserve Bank of India, or RBI, has withdrawn a number of outdated circulars issued under the Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999 or FEMA. The move is part of the central bank's ongoing efforts to simplify regulations and eliminate redundant compliance requirements. Through APDIR Series Circular Number 18 dated June 24, 2026, the RBI announced that it has completed a comprehensive review of FEMA-related circulars issued since June 1, 2000. Following the review, several circulars identified as no longer operative due to regulatory amendments, overlap with newer guidelines, redundancy, or supersession have been formally withdrawn. The Indian rupee is likely to climb, aided by a continued drop in oil prices below pre-Iran war levels, while Asian peers were under pressure from safe haven dollar demand. The currency had been at risk of slipping past the 95 mark in the previous session before reversing course, supported by likely central bank intervention, while comments from Reserve Bank of India Chief Sanjay Malhotra pulled forward premium levels lower. India's refiners are poised to benefit from a rapidly improving business environment, fueled by the retreat of crude prices to pre-war levels and expansion of cheaper supply options with the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Benchmark Brent fell to around $72 a barrel Thursday, down from an average of $99 in first week of June and $109 during the 3 months till May. Russia has resumed offering discounts, reversing the hefty premiums it charged after the Iran war began. Aditya Birla Group is reportedly in advanced talks to acquire Shell's Indian renewable energy arm, Spring Energy, for a substantial sum. State Bank of India and Axis Bank are leading a Rs 15,000 crore loan facility for the potential deal, which could be the largest in India's renewable sector. Discussions are ongoing, with Shell confirming initial interest from potential buyers. Indian pharmaceutical giant Zydus Life Sciences has partnered with Sri Lanka's Sunshine Healthcare Lanka to establish a new manufacturing facility in Sri Lanka. This $20 million joint venture, Zydus Sunshine Life Sciences, will be located in Horana Export Processing Zone. The project aims to boost local drug production, decrease reliance on imports, and improve medicine accessibility. SEBI has released a consultation paper proposing the introduction of a Common Advertising Code or CAC for specified regulated entities in the securities market. The proposal seeks to establish a uniform framework governing advertisements, replacing the existing entity-specific requirements with a harmonized code. The proposed framework is intended to simplify compliance, promote consistency, and enhance transparency in advertisements issued by regulated entities. Artificial intelligence has become the single biggest driver of wealth creation in the global startup ecosystem, with AI companies accounting for the largest valuation gains ever recorded among privately held firms. The clearest sign of this shift came from Anthropic, the developer of Claude, which has dethroned OpenAI to become the world's most valuable unicorn after adding a record $904 billion in valuation over the past year. Anthropic is now valued at $965 billion, overtaking ChatGPT maker OpenAI, which ranks second with a valuation of $852 billion after adding $552 billion during the year. Torrent Power on Thursday said it has completed the acquisition of 100% equity stake in Nabha Power Limited or NPL from L&T Power Development Limited for Rs 3,632.35 crore. Torrent Power is engaged in the business of power generation, transmission, distribution and manufacturing and supply of power transmission cables and is a part of Torrent Group, which is into power pharmaceuticals and gas distribution sectors. Nabha Power Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of L&T Power Development Limited and has been operating a 2 into 700 megawatt supercritical thermal power plant at Rajpura, Punjab since 2014. Overseas investors have poured a record Rs 39,640 crore into Indian government bonds this June, driven by tax exemptions and expanded access to sovereign debt. These measures aim to boost foreign participation and are fueling expectations of India's inclusion in global bond indices. While inflows are strong, experts advise caution due to elevated US Treasury yields, though confidence in Indian debt is rising. India's luxury car market is experiencing its first slowdown in over 5 years, with sales stalling in early 2026. Heightened global uncertainties, volatile markets, and a weaker rupee are making affluent buyers cautious. Luxury car makers have also increased prices, further impacting demand. This contrasts sharply with the booming mass market segment, highlighting a shift in buyer sentiment among the wealthy. Electronics manufacturing giant Foxconn has infused $37.2 million or around rupees 351 crore in its India arm Foxconn Horn High Technology India Mega Development Private Limited. Foxconn has infused the fund through its Singapore-based subsidiary. With the latest transaction, Foxconn Singapore's cumulative stake in the Chennai-based subsidiary has increased to 99.99% at a valuation of $2.82 billion or about Rs 26,600 crore. Foxconn had last year invested $1.48 billion or around Rs 12,800 crore in its Tamil Nadu-based Yuan Technology. ITC's packaged food business soared past $2 billion in financial year 26, with overall FMCG consumer spending reaching Rs 37,000 crore. The growth was fueled by premium product launches and a favorable tax environment. While the food segment remains the largest FMCG contributor, other businesses saw modest gains. The company faces challenges from increased cigarette taxation but remains optimistic about its market position. The Reserve Bank of India or RBI has amended the RBI Commercial Banks Credit Facilities Directions 2025 to introduce a prudential framework governing credit facilities linked to specific payment instruments. The amendment clarifies the regulatory treatment of such facilities, including pre-sanctioned credit lines for UPI transactions, and requires banks to incorporate appropriate provisions in their credit policies. RBI has clarified that the prudential treatment of credit facilities linked to payment instruments shall be determined based on the nature of the underlying credit facility. Accordingly, the applicable prudential norms governing the underlying loan or credit exposure will continue to apply to such facilities. As oil prices ease following a peace deal between the United States and Iran, Goldman Sachs raised its forecast for India's gross domestic product or GDP growth in 2026-27 by 40 basis points to 6.5%. The global brokerage firm also cut its projection for India's headline inflation by 30 basis points to 4.9% for financial year 27. Amazon is significantly boosting its India investment, committing an additional $48 billion by 2030, bringing the total to nearly $90 billion. CEO Andy Jassy highlighted opportunities in AI, cloud computing, and quick commerce, emphasizing India's crucial role in Amazon's global strategy. The company sees substantial growth potential as retail and IT sectors increasingly shift online and to the cloud, despite operating under India's marketplace model. This podcast is sponsored by Sound of CA. We share because we care. Vande Mataram, Jai Hind.